So hey guys, today we're going to be talking about King of the Feral Imps and why that card completely does not matter even right now. Well, I mean, it could be useful, I guess, but it's not actually vital to Mitsurugi in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion, because there is just way too much easy access into the Mitsurugi cards, regardless of if you have access to King of the Feral Imps or not. But the only two decks I think that specifically benefit from King of the Feral Imps are Ryziel and Orcust, I think, mainly. So if you look at every single Mitsurugi card, you'll notice they are all dark monsters. And Orcust places you under a dark lock. And you can make the rank 4 dark monster, which is King of the Feral Imps, to access your other dark engine of Mitsurugi. Or you could, go kind of back and forth and go from Mitsurugi to Orcust or Orcust to Mitsurugi, whatever, right? And for Ryziel, generic rank 4s will get you access into Ryziel combo via Duo Drive. And also you can make rank 4s and therefore make King of the Feral Imps to access the Mitsurugi part of your deck as well. And that's about it for King of the Feral Imps. Aside from that, there's not that much going for it. Like rank 4s used to be a lot more generically viable. Now they're kind of iffy, honestly. If we just real quick go to, I guess we'll do URSR and then look for some archetypes here. Let's just scroll down and see any archetypes that can make rank 4s. So Mitsurugi, I don't think that would count because that's kind of the goal to get to with King of the Feral Imps here. But this is probably one of the most recent ways that you can use to kind of just get into rank 4s, and that's about it. But if we're not playing a rank 4 exclusive deck, like a deck that basically just exists to turbo at rank 4s, like, are we going to really see any easy access into rank 4s here? So let's go down a bit more. Archetype wise, I don't think I see anything yet. So let's change the filters then to UR. So Bestials, do Bestials have the ability to make rank 4s? Technically, yes, but not consistently, nor necessarily in the same turn. So, funny thing about Bestials is, there's the Bestial Eluber, and you have the effect of Branded Regained, which has the effect to whenever your opponent normals or special summons, you can target a bestial monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Now, the extra funny part about this is the Bestial Eluber, while this card is in the graveyard or on field, its name is Fallen of Elbaz, so you can't even special summon it back with Branded Regained. So how would you get two Bestial Eluber on the field at the same time? Well, there is a way, actually. It's just incredibly stupid. So you need two Bestial Elubers, so you normal summon one, you banish the other with something like a Magnuma or some Bestial you searched with Magnuma, and then you can special summon it back with Dispatter. But this also requires you to already have Dispatter, which requires you to have a Bestial Eluber, in theory, assuming you're playing pure Bestial, right? So you essentially need to summon the Bestial Eluber 3 times, more or less, because how do you think Bestial Eluber got into the graveyard in the first place to an extent? I guess it was to make Dispatter. So you special summon it. Well, you normal summon this Eluber, you banish it, you special summon this, so that's summon number 2, and then you normal summon this Bestial Eluber for summon number 3. That's how you make a rank 4 with pure Bestial. So, I mean, like, technically, you can do this, but it takes more than one turn. And you also have to be running more than one Bestial Eluber. So, next we have Witchcrafter, I guess. There's not a single level 4 monster here, aside from Shemitah, which, I mean, if you can put 2 Shemitah on the board somehow, like, I don't even know how Witchcrafter works, honestly, so I can't say, but I just want to say I don't think this is something I ever see happen. So, yeah, I don't think this happens, and maybe there's a lock on the Witchcrafter cards. I'm not even sure if they do or not. So let's chat. Special summon a Witchcrafter monster deck. Tribute this card, okay. Discard one spell, special summon a witchcrafter monster. Not really seeing anything here. What does Shemitah do? Cannot special summon itself. Send one witchcrafter. I mean, in pure witchcraft, I don't think I see a way to super easily do this unless there's a spell that gets you there. Not really going to check all of those, so I'm going to say inconclusive. Alistair, like if you were playing actual invocation. Yeah, I mean, if you normal summon Alistair and this 1000 attack point guy or 1800 defense guy, if you choose to set instead, remains on the field, I guess you could technically get to a rank 4 in 2 turns. So I'm not seeing a lot of, being able to actually make a rank 4 in, just 1 turn. I mean, like the shark stuff can technically do it, but I think you get waterlocked depending on exactly what you start with. Yeah, if you get water's XYZ lock, you can't make King of the Feral Imps, but for the most part, I think there still is like some decent consistency options to get into like King of the Feral Imps with the heraldry stuff. It rank 4 locks you. I don't know how exactly this stuff works. I haven't checked at all. But I mean that's a maybe, but these are both rank 4 decks. So big shocker. They're literally rank 4 XYZ decks. Yeah, basically. So how much here? Necros? Literally don't know what they do. Punk, level 3 and level 5. Those are the 2 like main punk levels. Aside from that, there's level 8. So not really going to work here, right? So it's not that generic to make a rank 4 nowadays for whatever reason. Until like Rise dropped, you weren't seeing that much rank 4 action unless you were playing like Shark, I guess, pretty much. Because for sure, absolutely no one was playing Heraldic Beasts or whatever that deck is called. So yeah. And now to get into the meat and potatoes, I suppose. Well, how many ways do you actually have to get access into Habakiri anyways? Because you actually genuinely do not need King of the Feral Imps, so let's just go through it. So, Heart Open, Habakiri. You have 3 copies of Habakiri. This is not that unreasonable if you were just going for this, because, it's like a 30% chance in a 40-card deck. That is okay. It's not, like, great, but, of course, that's something to be considered. And then we have Preparation. So, there is Preparation of Rites, which doesn't work, but there's no level mentioned on pre-prep, so you're able to add Habakiri plus the ritual spell that mentions Habakiri, because that exists for some reason. So in this case here, no normal summon required, no monster commitment required. You have a way to essentially yeah, it's mentioned right here, Habakiri, but yeah, without any commitment, like no normal summon, no special summons or anything, we already have 6 different methods to get to Habakiri here. And while we're here, it's also worth mentioning that if you were playing a dark deck, like we'll go with Orchest alongside Mitsurugi here, right? You do have the option to just run Small World into these guys. So there's that. And then if we go for an archetypal kind of ways to access your Habakiri, you have your copies of Saji, right? No, not Saji. Arama. So Arama, normal or special summon. Wait, this guy's name's not Arama, it's Aramasa. Oh, just need to scroll over a little bit more, but regardless, Aramasa here just adds Habakiri, so if we're just looking at mostly pure Mitsurugi, it's already 9 cards that get you into Habakiri or just opening Habakiri itself. So yeah, that already has insane consistency. And we're not done. We of course have even more options actually. We have Manju, of the 10,000 hands, which if you were to normal summon this card, you can add a ritual monster or a ritual spell from your deck to your hand. In this case, we're picking ritual monster. Pretty simple. And then this just adds Habakiri. And, you know, I believe there's also Senju of the 1,000 hands, where if you normal summon this card, this is slightly inferior to Manju because it can't add any ritual spells. If we cared, because all we need is to add Habakiri and that's kind of full combo. So right now I'm seeing 15 different ways to access Habakiri already. But yeah, you know what? This is only the tip of the iceberg. We've barely begun. So next we have Diviner. If we were to normal summon Diviner, Diviner has the ability to send Herald of the Arclight. And of course, if we send Herald of the Arclight then has the effect right here of you can add a ritual monster or one ritual spell from your deck to your hand. So in this case, we're picking ritual monster. And while we're here, also worth mentioning that this did take your normal summon, but this is a level 6 tuner now, which means, yeah, we could make Baron by normal summoning Diviner. And then resolving some of the Mitsurugi combo. And then, this can give you a level 4 monster because there's no lock, so you could use like, I don't know, Saji or whatever, plus Diviner, make like Baron or something. Cool. And also worth mentioning, while we're still here, just Herald of the Arclight itself is actually also a way to search for Habakiri, which means we can do this. So if we just simply grab Extra Foolish Burial, this would work, but I mean, it does have this downside attached to it if you care. But that's one way we can just send Herald of the Arclight to the graveyard to then grab Habakiri here. Aside from this, of course, we have what's it called? Nadir Servant. Well, so like this. Okay, whatever. Let's figure it out here. Servant. Nadir Servant. Got it twisted a little bit, but send any monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and then you're locked out of the extra deck. I mean, if this matters to you, or if you just want access to Habakiri, Nadir Servant gets you there as well. So already we're at like 21 cards on the main deck already. But we'll take Nadir Servant out because this locks you in the sense that you can't combo too much after this because you get locked out of the extra deck. So we'll continue on without Nadir Servant, but it is an option. And technically, you can play multiple copies of Diviner actually, and while we're here, it depends on exactly what you're playing, but Ben 10 has the fact to if this card is distributed, you can add a light fairy monster from your deck to your hand. So remembered when I said preparation, well, specifically preparation of rights, it didn't work? Well, it works now, but only if you have a tribute monster effect. So Azumina decks can actually play Preparation of Rites to add Cyber Angel Benton, and then you tribute Benton to start off your Azumina plays or whatever. Or you have Diabell Star as well, so that engine is somewhat consistent. And then you can just tribute Benton, grab Diviner and stuff. Just grab whatever, and then you can just normal summon like Diviner, for example. Use that entire package, does not require your normal summon, and then you can send Herald of Arclight that way. You can, of course, also didn't mention this because this is not as common, but it's pretty doable, where you can just make Herald of Arclight and then send this to the graveyard somehow. It doesn't matter how this is sent to the graveyard. You could use this as like XYZ material, fusion material, link material. Just do whatever you want, really. It just has to get to the graveyard somehow after you make it, which isn't too hard in my opinion. So you can do that, and then boom. Add Habakiri, Mitsurugi combo. And of course, can't forget Gale Dogra. Which, I mean, if we specifically use Gale Dogra, we can then use the effect of Gale Dogra to send Herald of the Arclight plus send something else that's potentially useful. So with Gale Dogra, I don't know, if we were playing a Cyber Stack, we could send to Save Worm, or we could then go ahead and send like Wind Pegasus at Ignister, which has this effect to target one card your opponent controls, shuffle it into the deck if one of your cards essentially gets removed, right? So, yeah. I mean, it does cost a lot of life points here, 6,000-ish, more or less, but very viable to just send Herald of Arclight plus something else that could be relevant. Hell, if you wanted to mill, you could send Kikelos, so it really gets places. Just somehow, some way, I guess. And if you want access to Gale Dogra, there are various ways you could do this. I mean, it's a little more roundabout, kind of ish, but I mean, for example, Punk, there's no way you're accessing like King of the Feral Imps that easily, but Gale Dogra is a lot easier to access in that deck, so I guess it's a little bit situational here. But you know, there's also the idea, of course, just like normal summoning Gale Dogra. So that's a thing. We also have, of course, since this is a level 2, we can Sprite Elf the Gale Dogra. And to send the Gale Dogra, we have the ideas of Sprite Sprind, and then we have ideas of also Diabolantis, the menacing mantis, which has the effect to send any insect or plant monster essentially. So you can do that as well. Send Gale Dogra. And yeah, that's just going to end up being a way you can get into Habakiri. And yeah, there's just so many ways to bridge into kind of Mitsurugi. It's kind of sickening to an extent, you know? So while we're here, let's see. What's the most outlandish way we could access this? Like, I don't think it will necessarily be good, but could we access this through Fiendsmith? Thinking. I'm thinking... Yeah, we could do it, but we're not going to start with exactly Fiendsmith. We start with a different engine and go into Fiendsmith, we have more bodies to work with to do dumb things. So we'll do it in the dumbest manner I can think of. So we're going to use... We'll go with... Just something that can span bodies, right? That's all we really need. So we'll go with just Punk, I guess. And we'll just go a completely different route. So this one is not going to be necessarily as efficient, but alright. If we start with like Ogre Dance grabs Xiamen, and then we grab like Rising Scale effect, a special summon, yada yada. We would normally kind of consider going into, I guess, like the Atlantis here, because that's logical to access Scale Dogra, but we're not going to do that. So instead, we're going to go into like Game Check and Drive, do some drawing. We're going to assume we don't draw Habakiri, even though we are able to draw like twice. And also we deck thin a lot by going through the Punk combo. It's like a moderate amount. But yeah, we go through all of this. I think our board, I don't remember the exact bodies, but it's like Xiamen, an 8, so in this case it'll be like Dragon Drive, and then we'll have maybe Sharakusai plus like, well actually it wouldn't be Xiamen, right? It would actually be specifically, it should be like Sharakusai, Madame Spider, the 8 here, we have like Rising Scale. So it's like 2 3s, 2 8s, and then from here we can go into kind of Fiendsmith combo, I suppose. But before we do that, I guess we could go into, I think we want to go into a, let's see. Do we have enough bodies to do this actually? Because ideally I want a downward link arrow. So basically, the idea here is we set up a downward link arrow, and the dumbest thing we could make, and the dumbest way we could access this, I'm thinking, is we go through and we're going to make like Curious, and then we're going to make Firewall Dragon. And because we have a downward pointing link arrow, or maybe a sideways one, I don't know, it depends. We just want to set up a co-link with Firewall Dragon. I'm pretty sure we can do that via going into like Fiendsmith. It might be doable. And if we do this, then we'll be able to then, yeah, we're going to be able to add a monster from our graveyard to our hand. And this monster will then be Habakiri. That's the idea. We just spam enough bodies, and we should be able to do that. I think with the punk line I'm thinking of right now, you might not have enough bodies to do so, unfortunately. Maybe. Not really sure, honestly. I would have to check like both firewalls though, just real quick, to be sure we can't just go into this. Singularity. Target cards your opponent controls. Oh yeah, that's like makeable, but that doesn't have the right effect. So Firewall Dragon. How do I spam enough bodies with Punk to be able to go into Firewall Dragon through Fiendsmith? Yeah, I don't think that's doable. But yeah, either way, we should be able to access Curious to send, like from Fiendsmith combo. You can access Curious, send Habakiri, and then it could kind of work, I guess. For example, you would do it that way. I guess we would have to make Diablantis if we're using Punk, and then we should set up like Fiendsmith and then go into Firewall Dragon as well. I think that's the way. I think you do have to make Diablantis actually. But I mean, either way, pretty dumb stuff. Well, wait, Diablantis to send Gildagra? Yeah, that's what you would do, I guess. And then you would just link off two guys, and then that make a link to link off that guy plus one more guy. In this case, it could be Diablantis, I guess you could link off. Make Sprite Elf, bring back like Gildagra, that'll work too. And I guess in this case, you would probably make IP because you can Sprite Elf, bring back IP next turn, and then use IP make SP the turn after. Well, we're here, I guess. That's probably the optimal line. Looks like Punk doesn't spam out enough bodies just to do it the excessively dumb way. Alright. Yeah, I guess you guys probably get the idea. Like, if you really want to, like with X deck, or just whatever deck, as long as it doesn't have like too outrageous of a lock, you should be able to find access into Habakiri. Or like instead of just going from Habakiri, you can even go from Habakiri to whatever archetypes starters, and then do that archetypes combo, which is absolutely dumb, but you know, you can get there for whatever reason. For example, with Fiends, you can very easily just bring back a Fiend with Muckraker, and to access the Fiend, you just go into Fiendsmith combo, which you can go into easily by just linking two guys off and then making Moon. And while you're at it, because you have two level 4 monsters, you can actually use those guys to make Duke Aris as well if you don't want to make Muckraker and get locked. And that's like pretty efficient. And then there was also the combo that allows you to technically special summon any main deck monster by going into Curious. I mean, like the mills could affect you negatively potentially. That's like the only issue with that line, if at all. Aside from that, you're basically going into Curious. Dugaris will bring back whatever Curious sends for you. So yeah, you just do that with basically just a single Habakiri in hand. Might as well throw that out there. And you know, if we're feeling really just not caring of anything at the moment, you know, if we start with Habakiri, we can literally just link off all of our Mitsurugi cards and just make Nightmare Griffin and just pass. Like, we could do that. We could also go like Fiendsmith first to get a few more bodies onto the field and then make Griffin, so that we're not pointing to any of our opponents like monsters. I'm pretty sure we can also do that, which is great, you know. Just lovely, I suppose. Yep, great. All right, so from here, we just have a billion different access routes to Habakiri, though, essentially. And yeah, these are just the more generic ones. So just to throw it out there, if we were playing Vendred, we can just access this, right? And this is not like super accessible or generic, but we have the ideas of using just Vendred Battlelord because it has the effect here of you can add one ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, send one Vendred monster from your deck to the graveyard, whatever, right? But what we really need to take note here is this adds any ritual monster from your deck to your hand, allowing you to grab Habakiri. So with Drytron, it doesn't quite work because like there's a lock on the Drytron cards, but you can just very easily, I would argue, go Battlelord to grab, well, it depends on how you're feeling. We can grab Benten to grab Diviner and then send Herald of Arclight to then grab us Habakiri. Or, you know, we can just directly grab Habakiri. And that'll be a combo, which I think, honestly, is pretty disgusting. But, you know, combo's combo, as someone says, probably. So, how many other ways do you think you could possibly access Habakiri? Like, this is probably just the tip of the iceberg, honestly. Because, I mean, if you're really committed, you could even do something like, well, I don't know what deck you'd be playing at this point, but if we have Armageddon Knight, this sends any Dark Monster from your deck to the graveyard. We also have, of course, Dark Grepher, which has a similar effect. But, you know, just normal summon Armageddon Knight, and then we put this into the graveyard. And why this matters is because all we need with Armageddon Knight is just one single additional monster that we can put on the field. And then we can go into Fiendsmith combo, which allows us to make like any rank 6 in the game. And you know what rank 6 we can make? That's right, Ptolemy M7, which has the effect to target one monster on the field or in either graveyard, return that target to the hand. So you can add Habakiri here like that. And in fact, just got check here real quick. I think that there was like a card that has the effect to like add cards or something. Like what was it called? I thought it was like Little Witch or something. Isn't it like a Link 2 or something? I'm pretty sure something like this exists, right? Lee Witch. This card is destroyed by battle or card effect. You can target one dark monster in your graveyard and add to your hand. Yeah, you have this also. Technically, if you didn't want to go into like Ptolemy M7, you just need any two dark monsters. Well, this shouldn't be too hard to meet these conditions. Just any two dark monsters to make Wee Witch, and then you'd probably want a way to destroy Wee Witch, and then you can add Habakiri that you somehow got into the graveyard, and that'll just get you to Habakiri in a really dumb way. If you were to just hit King of the Feral Imps, this just stops certain decks from accessing this as freely, but it doesn't like stop all decks from accessing Habakiri randomly through stupid means. But believe me, there are probably so many ways that I just can't think of at the moment to just access this for no good reason. Like a lot of decks, you used to look at it and it'd be like, oh, wait, I can make Halkir, and then we can go into like Elkdawn, or oh, we can make Halkir, so we can just make like a formula into Baron. And you also somehow have Warlord Savage for some reason. And then you go like Warlord Savage into Baron de Fleur, and every single rogue deck basically did that somehow, some way. I don't remember the exact lines, but like somehow that's the end board you just end up with like a bajillion different rogue decks. I had no idea how, but you know, that's how it ended up. So looking at this, I feel a decent amount of disgust, I guess. But yeah, it could get worse, I suppose. There isn't a reptile Rhoda, is there? Yeah, I guess not, right? I mean, you do have Snake Brain to send 4 reptile monsters from your deck to the graveyard. This has to be 4, so there's that. I guess you can also run like Foolish Burial type effects just to actually send this card to the graveyard. And that would work as well. Would be dumb, but you know, if it works, I guess it's not dumb, right? But what deck would make this specifically and then pop this actually? This requires Dark Monster, so I'm not sure about what deck would utilize or be able to utilize which. I don't think this is the most efficient way for a lot of dark decks, but it'd still work in theory, I guess. Well, whatever. That's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.